G'day again. We're going to do indices and surds. So we'll start off with indices and see how we go. So I've got a live audience here. Everyone say hello. Hi. Great. Stop. Great. We'll keep going. Okay, so indices. Your basic rule for indices. So let's start with x squared multiplied by x to the 5. So if you multiply two things with indices, you add the indices. So that will equal x to the 7. Pretty basic. So you've got that 2 plus 5, 7. If you divide, so I'll pick a big number, so x12 divided by x4 equals, this is a trick they do in exam. So with division, what do? You subtract. So this is minus, and it's plus. So you subtract that, 12 take away 4 is 8. This is a big trick in exams. They do this and the student immediately goes, oh, I know 12 divided by 4, it's 3, and they put a 3 there. So you just got to watch that when they put numbers there that you remember your rules. Add those and subtract those. The next rule for indices is with brackets. So if you get x to the 3 squared. Again, can be tricky for students if you're in a rush. So what this is 3 multiplied by 2, and the thing students get confused with is plus. They go, oh, it's on top, I've got to add them. 3 plus 2 is 5, and you're wrong. Okay, so 3 times 2 is x to the 6. Another way to think of this is to think, okay, if I'm not sure, why don't I expand it and go x to the 3 multiplied by x to the 3, and then I'm back to my rule. I'm back to the plus rule. 3 plus 3 is 6. So 2 times 3 is 6. So it is x to the 6. All good? Great. So we're ready for part 2. So the second part of indices is just to know a few rules. So the first one is negatives. So if we go x to the negative 1. Negative just means it's a fraction, 1 over. So that will equal 1 over x. And there would be a 1 there. If I give you a few examples, you'll see it's pretty obvious. X to the minus 3 is 1 over x cubed, and etc. And it doesn't matter what this thing is. We could have banana to the minus 10. That equals 1 over banana to the 10. So it doesn't matter what this thing is, it still goes on the bottom because that negative means 1 over. If I put a number here, so let's ignore the banana, we'll do it with a letter. So if I go 5x to the minus 2, the 5 is going to stay on top. It's not going to magically go underneath. This is going to get 5 over x squared, like that. So this is multiplied. The only way you can get the 5 underneath is if they put a minus 1 there. So for example, I'll just move over here. If you go 7 to the minus 1, x to the minus 3, they're both going to go underneath. So you'll get 1 over 7x cubed, like that. The other way they can do it is if they put brackets around the whole lot. So if we go 7x all to the power of minus 5. So that means they're all going to go underneath and they're all to the power of 5. So you could either write that as 1 over 7x, leave the bracket and put a 5. You could do it like that, or you could put the 5 on each of them. So you could say, well, that also equals 1 over 7 to the 5 x to the 5. Or you could expand 7 to the 5 on your calculator and write it as a big number underneath. Okay, so that's with negative indices. The other thing you need to know with roots, I'll rub this one off. Oh, they're used to writing that. You need to write faster. Okay, the next thing you need to know is with roots. So if we go with roots, it's a good thing it's being recorded because you can play it back. So if we go root x equals x to the half. So a root is a fraction. Okay, that's something you can remember. So if we go x to the cube root, that's to the x to the 1/3. And if I increase this root, it's just going to increase the bottom. So x to the 4th root, x to the 1 on 4, etc., etc. The only way the 1 changes is when they put a power there. So let's make up one with a power there. 3, we'll make it x cubed, and we'll just leave it as a square root. So square root of x cubed. So that means this 3 is going to go on top. Like that. Okay, but notice this is still saying the square root of x. The 4th root, the cube root, the square root. It's just the number on top changes if you change that power. Back again for the third thing. Last thing, if you have x or anything, y, anything to the power of 0, it equals 1. So x to the 0 is 1, y to the 0 is 1, 77 to the 0 is 1, anything to the 0 is 1. The trick with the zeros is when you get a question that looks like this, and it says, what is 7x to the 0? Now because that 0 doesn't surround the whole lot, this equals 7 multiplied by 1, which equals 7. Now that is different to getting a question which says, what is that? That's saying the whole lot is 1. Okay? You get that? So now we're going to switch on to surds.